Alright, what's up guys? So for my honors calc final project, I decided to code tic-tac-toe in JavaScript using code.org and talk about the mathematical beauty behind the game and talk about the overarching mathematical ideas. So for the project I chose patterns, numbers, and symmetry as my three ideas that are reoccurring themes in tic-tac-toe. So yeah, I'll just be going over the code, how to play it, and then showing you how those mathematical ideas are embedded throughout the game. So yeah. So here is basically the game. So yeah, let's talk about the code first. So here, basically, I just have a play button. So when you click play, it starts the game. But let's go to the function part of it. So first function I had to do was set variables for each one of these boxes. And I did this B1 through B9, so that the computer could know when the box is clicked and then what to do after. So here's the function called 3 in a row. This is just shows how the computer shows the program when a player wins. So for example, let's look at this one. If 7 is clicked, 8 is clicked, and 9 is clicked, then what happens is the the function result returns true, meaning that this is 7, this is 8, this is 9. So if circle clicks all of them, the result is going to be true, and it's going to display the fact that player 1 or circle wins the game. So yeah, that's basically all the code right here. Here's the game function. It's just setting the scores, P1, setting the text, which is shown up here, and then showing who wins the rounds, player 1 or player 2. And I don't know if it should be clear, but obviously this is just a player 1 for player 2, so 2 players are needed. It's not player versus computer. So yeah, here are the on event functions, meaning on event of something being clicked, something happens. So if, for example, B1 is played and 3 in a row is indicated, what happens is the text sets to X, and the turn goes to the next character. This else is just saying if in case circle does it first, and it goes back to X. And I do that for every single block. It's a little redundant, but you kind of have to do it, at least the way I decided to code it. And then down here, these are some clear on events, just saying that if you click the reset button, it resets the board. If you click the reset score, it resets the score of the players up here. Yeah, and then down here is the play again. After a character wins, there's a button that says play again, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So now let's talk specifically more about the mathematics of tic-tac-toe. So obviously, tic-tac-toe is a game where players alternate their pieces, X, O, whatever, and the first player to get 3 pieces in a row vertically, horizontally, or diagonally wins the game, obviously. So for the usual 3x3 board, unfortunately, a draw will most likely happen if you're playing against someone who knows a little bit about the game, which kind of sucks, which is tic-tac-toe is kind of annoying. But there are some strategies that win the game, and that's where the math kind of comes in. So for example, let's talk about patterns first. So there's 2 ways patterns can be implemented in tic-tac-toe, and the first is strategical patterns. So for any person who's looked up how to win tic-tac-toe, I've never done that probably. I'm already good at it. I'm really good at this game. I don't have to know. But let's say somebody would look it up. Usually what they say is go for the corner pieces. So let's say I'm O and player 2 is X, like a friend or something. So me being O or circle or whatever, they should always put it in this tile. Next, let's say your friend puts it here. The next move you'd want to make is down here. Let's say your friend's oh, I'm gonna put it on this block right here, so that I can stop them from getting a 3 in a row here, So they place it, and then you put it in the middle. Oh wait, no, then you put it here. Yeah, here. I'm sorry. Yeah, here, right here. Then they're oh look, they're gonna get 3 in a row by getting these bottom 3, and then they place it here, and then you bam, and then you win because you win diagonally. So that's a strategical pattern on how to win. And you can notice those patterns the more and more you play the person repeatedly, because that's usually a tactic to win, because you're setting up a position to where even if they block one way of you winning, you always have a second opportunity. So let's reset the board here. So to counteract that strategical pattern, when you recognize the pattern of them always playing it in the corner, the top left corner, what you can do is you can place it in the middle tile, being the second player. The reason why that's good is because if I were to continue the strategy like I was talking about before, I'd place it here. Obviously the X person would place it here, and then I would place it here, but then there's no two ways of winning, so the X player can easily place it there. You'd have to place it here, or here. Actually, I've kind of messed that up, but whatever, you know, you get the idea. Like, it would be a draw. I mean, I just messed up, but yeah. So recognizing those patterns are crucial, because if you see someone already putting it here, if you put it here, you have a really high chance of obviously tying, and there is a slight chance of you actually winning if the circle player doesn't see certain patterns. So let's reset the board again, and let's talk about a second type of pattern. So if you realize that, like, let's say if someone's always playing in the middle, obviously you don't want to do the pattern that I was talking about, like placing it in these three corners. So if somebody would play in the middle, then you would try to think of what patterns they usually do. So for example, if they start, let's say we're X and the opponent is O, they place in the middle, you'd want to place it here, for example, they'd place here, recognizing the pattern, and you can easily just block them and just tie every time. So yeah, let's reset the board. The second thing is numbers. So this kind of talks about frequency. So this ties back into the strategy of winning. If you realize the number of times they're placing it in this specific square is high, then obviously you don't want to, you know, like let them win by placing it here, for example. You'd want to place it in the middle tile. So instead of doing that, you'd want to do this so that they can't do their strategy. So counting the number of times that they're doing their strategy versus when they're not doing it is important, because then you can predict the next moves and the next way that you can actually win the game. So the last overarching mathematical idea is obviously symmetry. Yeah, so it's pretty clear. I mean, it's just like a 3x3 board. There's vertical symmetry, diagonal symmetry, horizontal symmetry, and you can analyze non-opening positions. Like for example, if the first player places an X in the center, there's not many moves the O player can do for the next move. So you can, if you know like what a group is, like in a mathematical sense, you can find the symmetry. You can find the symmetry group of a given tic-tac-toe board position, and that way you can use symmetry to kind of counteract them and not let them win every single time. So yeah, that's how symmetry is used. It's not like that complex. I mean, it's pretty clear of symmetry. Outside of the mathematical ideas, there's a lot of calculations behind the game of tic-tac-toe. It's been around for a long time, and when I was doing some research, I found that there are a lot of total number of positions. So 3 to the 9th place is the total number of game positions in a 3x3 grid, because every square will either be O, X, or blank. And 3 to the 9th equals 19,683 total. 9 factorial gives you 362,880, and this is the total number of ways that the position can be filled on the grid. So because first you have the choice of 9 choices of squares to choose from if you're the first player, but then if you're the second player, obviously there's only 8 squares left because the player 1 already plays. So yeah, that's how I did the factorial math. Yeah, there's a lot of ways math is involved with this. That was just a few examples that were easy to think of on the top of my head. So for the next part, I'm just going to be passing out tic-tac-toe boards and letting you guys use the strategy using patterns, numbers, symmetry, and like other math to see if you can use that to your advantage to either win or, you know, tie matches, because that does happen pretty frequently. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. I don't really know what else to do on this project, Ms. Crawford. So yeah, thanks for watching this, and yeah, thank you.